The galaxy had known war before. Across 10,000 star systems, civilizations had risen, fought, and rebuilt. Empires fractured. Alliances formed. Worlds burned, then bloomed again. But never had the galaxy known annihilation. It began at the edge of the mapped spiral, where the void between stars grew blacker and colder than physics should allow. The first world to fall was the ocean planet of Veltharis. Its crystalline cities were reduced to molten glass in less than 3 standard hours. No survivors. Then came Karos Prime, seat of the warrior caste of the Dravaki. Then Ilis. Then 50 more. The invaders called themselves the Zalreth Swarm. They were not a civilization. They were hunger given shape. Their fleets moved like living storms, vast biomechanical leviathans of blackened chitin and pulsing crimson veins. They devoured planets, stripped atmospheres, converted biomass into more ships. Their weapons dissolved molecular bonds. Their numbers replenished faster than they could be counted. And they were winning. Inside the towering obsidian chamber of the Galactic Council on Asterion Station, silence weighed heavier than gravity. Ambassador Thessera of the Illyrians stared at the tactical holomap, her silver skin reflecting the red blinking sigils of dead worlds. Another sector had gone dark. Her 4 luminous eyes dimmed. "We have lost the 7th defensive line," announced High Marshal Korvac, his scaled fists clenched. "Our fleets are down to 12% combat readiness." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Panic. Fear. Despair. The Council had exhausted every weapon. Planet crackers. Quantum singularity bombs. Dimensional collapse fields. Nothing stopped the swarm. Then the ancient Vethari speakermind spoke. "There remains one possibility." The chamber turned. Humanity. The word itself drew mixed reactions. Disdain. Skepticism. Confusion. Humans were young by galactic standards. Barely 3 centuries into interstellar civilization. Primitive compared to elder races. They lacked psionics. Their ships were inelegant slabs of metal. Their technology was considered crude, overbuilt, embarrassingly mechanical. The Dravaki scoffed openly. The apes from Sol? Korvac hissed. They could barely defend their own border disputes. But Thessera remained still. Because she remembered. 30 years earlier, pirates had attacked an Illyrian diplomatic convoy near the Sol fringe. Before Council aid arrived, a single human destroyer had answered the distress call. It had been old. Scarred. Outgunned. And it had charged anyway. The pirates had been annihilated. Not through superior weapons. Through impossible aggression. Through tactics no sane species would attempt. Through sheer, terrifying refusal to lose. Thessera looked around the chamber. "We asked humanity to join the Galactic Defense Accord," she said quietly. "And they declined." "Correct," said the speaker mind. "Then why would they help now?" The elder being's eyes glowed. "Because we have finally sent the message they have waited centuries to hear." The holoscreen shifted. A transmission. Sent directly to Earth. 3 words, translated into every known language. "We are losing." Across 17,000 worlds, billions watched. The galaxy cried for help. And in the Sol system, humanity answered. On the bridge of the UHS Retribution, Captain Elias Ward stood before the stars. 47 years old. Steel-gray hair. Eyes sharpened by old wars no alien history had ever recorded. Behind him, klaxons sounded. Crew rushed to battle stations. His first officer, Commander Naomi Reyes, stepped beside him. Orders from Earth Command confirmed. Ward's jaw tightened. "How many?" Reyes hesitated, then smiled grimly. "Just us, sir." Ward stared into the darkness. 1 ship. Against extinction. And for the first time in centuries, humanity was going to war. His chamber erupted in disbelief. 1 ship. Korvac roared. On the tactical projection, the human response was absurdly clear. Only a single vessel had departed the Sol system. No escort fleet. No carrier groups. No reserve armada. 1 ship. The UHS Retribution. Thessera studied its profile. It looked ancient compared to modern alien warcraft. No elegant curves. No adaptive energy sails. No shimmering gravitic lattices. It was a brutal wedge of matte black alloy, layered in visible armor plating and lined with protruding weapon batteries. It looked less like a spacecraft and more like a weapon someone had simply hollowed out and filled with people. Korvac sneered. "This is an insult." But the Vethari speaker mind remained silent. Watching. Waiting. Aboard the Retribution, Captain Ward addressed his crew. 712 souls stood ready across the ship. Veterans. Engineers. Marines. Most had seen combat. Some had survived the brutal frontier conflicts against human separatist factions decades earlier. All knew the odds. Ward's voice thundered across internal comms. Listen up. The bridge fell silent. The galaxy thinks we sent one ship because we're desperate. A pause. They're wrong. Soft chuckles spread. Ward's expression hardened. We sent one ship because one is enough. The crew erupted into cheers. Then Reyes leaned toward him. You really believe that? Ward gave a thin smile. No. He looked toward the stars. But I know what this ship can do. The first contact came near the shattered moon fields of Syraxis Belt. A Zalreth advance cluster. 42 bioships. Enough to obliterate any known battle group. The Galactic Council observed remotely from Mysterian Station. Thessera stood rigid as the human vessel entered sensor range. No evasive maneuvers. No defensive posture. The Retribution accelerated directly toward the swarm. Korvac barked laughter. They charged to die. Then the human ship vanished. Not cloaked. Gone. A fraction of a second later, it reappeared in the center of the enemy formation. Gasps filled the council chamber. Impossible, Thessera whispered. The Retribution had executed a forbidden maneuver. A microfold jump inside combat space. No species attempted such jumps. The gravitational instability should have shredded the vessel. But humans had reinforced their hull for exactly that. And then they opened fire. Not plasma lances. Not coherent energy streams. Projectile cannons. Ancient kinetic warfare elevated to monstrous perfection. Tungsten rods accelerated to relativistic velocities tore through Zalreth hulls like paper. The first 7 enemy ships exploded instantly. Then came the broadside. Rows of mass drivers unleashed devastation. The vacuum itself screamed. Alien observers stared in horror as the swarm formation collapsed into molten debris. Within 83 seconds, all 42 enemy vessels were gone. The council chamber stood frozen. Korvac's scales paled. Thessera whispered the only thought she could form. What are they? On the Retribution's bridge, alarms blared. Hull stress critical. Microfractures spreading. The jump had nearly torn the ship apart. Reyes exhaled shakily. That was reckless. Ward nodded. Yes. Then his expression darkened as new contacts appeared. Thousands. The main swarm fleet had arrived. A black tide stretching across the stars. Reyes went still. We can't fight that. Ward stared at the impossible numbers. Then opened a secure channel to Earth. This is Ward. Static. Then Earth Command answered. Status. Ward's voice was calm. Phase 1 complete. A pause. Requesting authorization for Ragnarok. Across the channel, silence. Then, authorization granted. Reyes turned slowly. Her face drained of color. Sir, if we do this. I know. Ward looked at his crew. At the stars. At the darkness rushing toward them. Set course for the center of the swarm. The Retribution surged forward. And for the first time in galactic history, humanity prepared to reveal its final weapon. Thessera had spent centuries studying war. Nothing prepared her for what she was witnessing. The lone human dreadnought plunged into the heart of the Zalreth armada. No retreat. No hesitation. As if it sought death. The council feeds tracked impossible energy spikes building within the ship. A harmonic resonance unlike any known reactor signature. The Vethari speaker mind's eyes widened. What are they doing? No one answered. On the Retribution, red emergency lights painted the corridors blood crimson. Crew moved with terrifying calm. They knew. Every human aboard had memorized the protocol years earlier. Ragnarok. A contingency born from humanity's oldest fear. What if one day something came that could not be reasoned with? Something that would consume Earth itself? The answer had been buried in classified shipyards beneath Luna. A weapon never tested. A weapon never meant to be used. At the core of the Retribution, engineers activated the Singularity Compression Lattice. Commander Reyes stood beside Ward. You could still evacuate. Ward shook his head. Not enough time. The truth hung between them. Ragnarok required a living command lock. Someone had to stay. She swallowed hard. Then I'm staying too. Ward looked at her. No. Sir. That's an order. For a moment she hated him. Then she understood. Someone had to carry the story home. Tears glimmered in her eyes. You always were an asshole, Captain. He smiled faintly. Get to the pods, Commander. The swarm closed in. Thousands of bioships converged. Then the retribution stopped. Stillness. Silence. And from its shattered hull unfolded colossal ring structures hidden beneath armor plating. The council stared in confusion. Korvac's voice trembled. What are those? The answer came from Ward himself, transmitted galaxy-wide. His face filled every screen. Calm. Resolved. This is Captain Elias Ward of the United Human Systems Navy. He looked directly into the camera. You asked for help. Behind him, warning sirens screamed. This is what humanity built in case the dark ever came. His expression softened. To my daughter, if this reaches Earth, be brave. He inhaled once, then gave the order. Execute Ragnarok. The stars vanished. A sphere of absolute darkness erupted from the retribution. Not an explosion. An absence. A newborn artificial singularity expanded at impossible speed, devouring matter, light, and the laws of conventional physics. Zalreth's ships vanished instantly. Entire formations folded inward. Space twisted. Reality screamed. From Asterion Station, Thessera fell to her knees as half the enemy armada was erased. Millions of vessels. Gone. And at the center, the retribution disappeared with them. Silence consumed the galaxy. Then came the impossible. The remaining Zalreth fleet turned. And fled. For the first time, the swarm knew fear. Rhea's escape pod drifted in the aftermath. She stared at the void where the ship had been. Where Ward had been. Her breath hitched. Then her console blinked. An encrypted data burst. Final message from Captain Ward. She opened it. Only 6 words. Finish what we started. She wiped her tears. Set course for Earth. And whispered. Yes, sir. The war was not over. It had only changed. The destruction of half the swarm should have ended the war. It didn't. It enraged them. The surviving Zalreth retreated beyond charted space, regrouping in numbers greater than before. The galaxy trembled. But this time it was not alone. When Reyes returned to Earth, she delivered Ward's final message. Humanity answered. And then the stars learned the truth. The retribution had never been humanity's greatest weapon. It had only been the warning shot. From hidden dockyards orbiting Mars emerged the Black Fleet. Ships long concealed from galactic census records. Dreadnoughts twice the size of Retribution. Carriers housing autonomous drone swarms. Planetary siege platforms. Experimental warforms. For centuries, humanity had smiled politely while being dismissed as primitive. All while preparing. Because humans remembered their own history. Every extinction event survived. Every world war endured. Every lesson written in blood. And they had concluded one immutable truth. Hope without preparedness is suicide. Thessera watched Earth's fleet mobilize. Thousands of vessels darkened Sol's orbit. Her awe deepened into something else. Respect. Perhaps even fear. The Dravaki Marshal Korvac stood beside her. Silent for a long moment. Then he muttered. We mocked them. Yes. We were fools. Yes. For once, he did not argue. The final battle unfolded above the Perseus expanse. A region where stars burned sparse and cold. Perfect terrain for annihilation. From the darkness came the full Zalreth host. A living wall stretching beyond sensor range. And facing them, humanity. At the center stood Earth's flagship, UHS Thanatos. On its bridge stood Commander Naomi Reyes. Promoted by necessity, hardened by grief. The fleet opened channels across every allied world. Her voice rang clear. Captain Ward gave us our chance. She looked at the enemy. Now we make it count. She raised her hand. All ships. A pause. Advance. What followed became legend. Human ships fought unlike any galactic doctrine. They embraced controlled chaos. Sacrificed formation purity for tactical unpredictability. Used kinetic saturation barrages, gravity mines, electronic warfare, and suicidal boarding actions. Where alien commanders sought order, humans weaponized madness. The Zalreth faltered, then broke. At the climax, Reyes drove the Thanatos directly into the Swarm Queen, a moon-sized biological command organism. Its psychic scream echoed through every sensor net. Human marines breached its living hull, fought through rivers of acid and writhing flesh, reached its neural core, and detonated antimatter charges. The Swarm Queen died in a burst visible across 3 systems. The Zalreth fleets collapsed into disarray, then into silence. The war was over. The galaxy had survived, because humanity had refused extinction. Again. Years later, peace returned. Broken worlds rebuilt. New alliances formed. The Galactic Council changed forever. No longer was humanity dismissed. No longer underestimated. At the center of Asterion Station now stood a monument. A black obsidian statue of Captain Elias Ward. Hands clasped behind his back. Eyes fixed eternally toward the stars. Beneath it, engraved in every known language. One ship stood when all others fell. Thus Sarah visited often. On this day, she stood beside Reyes. Older now. Gray at the temples. Still carrying the same haunted strength. The galaxy owes him everything, thus Sarah said softly. Reyes shook her head. No. Thus Sarah frowned. What do you mean? Reyes looked up at the statue. He didn't save the galaxy because it owed us anything. Then why? A faint smile touched Rhea's lips. Because that's what humans do. That night, deep beneath Luna's surface, alarms awakened ancient vaults. Automated systems flickered to life. A classified sensor array had detected movement beyond extragalactic dark space. Something larger than the Zalreth. Older. Approaching. A single message appeared on secure command screens across Earth. Threat level Omega. Ragnarok protocol insufficient. And beneath it, Initiate, Ward Directive. Reyes stared at the alert. Her blood ran cold. Because she knew what it meant. Ward had planned for this too. He had left one final contingency. One humanity had prayed never to use. She looked out at Earth hanging blue and brilliant against the void. Then whispered, Captain, what did you build? The stars offered no answer. Only silence. And somewhere in the dark between galaxies, something ancient was coming. This time, humanity would not send one ship. This time, they would send everything. The galaxy had cried once. Humanity had answered. And when the darkness returned, the darkness itself would learn to fear mankind.